If you'd visited Elkhart, Kansas a few years back, you might have caught a glimpse of a man named Shan Hanes striding down Main Street. He was the sort of person who drew nods and cordial greetings wherever he went. After all, he wasn't just a neighbor, he was the CEO of the local bank, the one that held everyone's mortgages, retirement funds, and savings accounts. He served on community boards, testified in financial matters, and led prayers at his church. He occupied that rare space where professional respect and personal trust seamlessly intertwined. In a place where a handshake is still a valuable currency, Haines' word felt as solid as a grain elevator's concrete walls. And yet, not long ago, this same man upended thousands of lives by funneling $47 million of the bank's funds into a scam so transparent that it reads like a bad movie plot. Haines fell for a pig butchering scheme, a bizarre fraud that revolves around fattening the victims' hopes before slaughtering them financially. This didn't just cost him his reputation, it wiped out local businesses, retirement plans, and the foundation of trust that communities like Elkhart rely on. To understand how astonishing this betrayal was, you need to know what a community bank represents in a place like Elkhart. Here, people don't just pick a bank because of its interest rates or a flashy app. They walk into a building that their parents and grandparents used. They deposit paychecks earned from farming, teaching, nursing, or running a hardware store that's been on the corner for decades. They talk about the weather, ask about each other's children, and share small pieces of their lives. Over time, this fosters a tapestry of trust that's as much social as it is financial. As CEO, Haines was at the very apex of that tapestry. The decisions he made didn't just affect anonymous customers, they shaped the futures of neighbors who waved to him from their front porches. He could quote a complex financial regulation by heart, yet still remember that the Peterson family always brought their kids along when opening a new savings account. The intangible role he played was that of a steady hand in a world that can often feel uncertain. For a man like Haines, respected, informed, and confident, the notion of being swindled by strangers on the internet might have once seemed laughable. After all, the FBI had issued warnings about this exact type of scam, commonly called shai pan or pig butchering. The scheme typically starts when an unexpected friend contacts you online, showering you with attention, perhaps even flirting, and subtly introducing a golden investment opportunity. Before you know it, you're shown fabricated returns that appear too good to resist. It's a hypnotic trick. Each fabricated success story nudges the victim toward investing more and more, until they're in so deep that the truth becomes unthinkable. It's easy to label such victims as gullible or greedy, but human beings are far more complicated than that. Even the shrewdest among us have blind spots. For Haines, the blind spot likely revolved around ego, trust in his own financial acumen, and the intoxicating promise of achieving something extraordinary. Being a banker, being the guy who knows money, might have led him to believe he was too savvy to fall for a scam designed for the unwary. Ironically, this very self-assurance became his undoing. The story goes that Haines first tried to unlock his supposed crypto fortune by dipping into resources at arm's length. Maybe he tried using his personal funds at first. When that proved insufficient, he looked elsewhere. He borrowed $440,000 from the church where he preached. He took $10,000 from a local investment club and $60,000 from his own daughter's college fund. Each time, he must have told himself it was temporary. He would pay it all back soon. The screens he was staring at, those ever-growing numbers in the online account, told him so. In hindsight, these initial thefts sound absurd. How could he not see what he was doing? Stealing from his own congregation and family. But consider the psychological trap. Every time he paid a fee or verification cost, the scammers pretended to show him even bigger returns. He believed he was just one payment away from plugging a golden key into a magical lock. When you're thoroughly manipulated into envisioning a jackpot that will redeem your sins 1,000 times over, reality warps. As the scammers squeezed harder, Haines escalated. He went from tens of thousands to millions. Suddenly, it wasn't just personal funds or small clubs, it was the bank's money. He overrode internal controls, instructed employees to send massive wire transfers, and exploited the authority bestowed upon him by his title. In a few short weeks, he drained over $47 million. For a small bank, that sum isn't just a number on a ledger, it's the difference between stability and collapse. Consider what that $47 million represented: partial business loans that helped local entrepreneurs keep their doors open, the life savings of retirees who depended on monthly interest, funds for scholarships, mortgages that allowed families to plant deep roots in the community. By redirecting these resources into the digital abyss, Haines shattered countless personal dreams. One cannot overstate the depth of betrayal that the victims must have felt. It's not just money, it's decades of trust and hard work, gone in an instant. When the scandal broke, Elkhart went into shock. Families checked their balances, local business owners rushed to confirm their lines of credit, and shareholders realized their investments had evaporated. The regulatory authorities had no choice but to close the bank. The Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation (FDIC) stepped in, ensuring that depositors were insured up to federal limits. That's a crucial safety net, but no comfort to those who lost uninsured amounts or entire stakes in the bank's future. Beyond the raw numbers, the closure of a local bank isn't just an economic event, it's a communal trauma. People had to grapple not only with the financial loss, but also with the spiritual and emotional damage. This was a banker who had sometimes stood at the pulpit, offering words of faith and moral guidance. A man who dined with them, listened to their hopes and concerns, and shook their hands as if sealing a silent pact of trust. Now, everything he'd ever said, every handshake felt tainted. In a small town, where reputations and character matter more than glossy brochures, such a betrayal is a wound that may never fully heal. It's tempting to paint Hanes simply as a villain. After all, he made criminal choices at every juncture. But to understand the full picture, you have to peer inside the psychology of someone caught in a notorious pig butchering scam. Victims often experience a peculiar cognitive dissonance. They think, "I'm too deep to quit now. If I walk away, everything I've done so far is lost." They cling to the illusion that one last payment, one final fee, will make it all worthwhile. The bigger the initial mistake, the harder it becomes to accept it and turn back. For a banker like Hanes, admitting he'd been duped meant acknowledging that he, the financial expert, was outsmarted by faceless criminals on the internet. That alone might be a bitter pill. More than that, it meant facing legal consequences, social ostracism, and a ruined legacy. The cost of honesty seemed insurmountable, so he pressed on, doubling and tripling down. At one point, when Hanes begged a wealthy friend for a $12 million loan to verify the crypto funds, the friend quickly recognized the scam. He told Hanes plainly, "You're being scammed." Instead of heeding the warning, Hanes became even more frantic, insisting that the fortune was real and just needed unlocking. This scene underscores how powerful the psychological grip of such a scam can be. Even when a trusted friend calls it out, the victim-turned-perpetrator refuses to see reason. Perhaps in that moment, Hanes knew deep down he was cornered, but his mind was racing too fast to accept it. When all was uncovered, the authorities charged Hanes with a slew of financial crimes. In court, his attorney pleaded for understanding, framing Hanes himself as a victim of a sophisticated con. While that may be partly true, the law saw otherwise. Hanes didn't just lose his own money, he plundered money entrusted to him by others. The court sentenced him to 24 years in federal prison, a term that, given his age, might ensure he never breathes free air as a truly old man. This sentence isn't just about punishing him. It sends a message: no matter how respected or established someone is, no one is above the law. But this does little to comfort the victims. They're left to pick up the pieces. Some might never recoup their losses, financial or emotional. The community might rebuild, but scars like these don't vanish overnight. It's crucial to understand that while Hanes' story is extreme, the underlying pattern is alarmingly common. The pig butchering scheme is not some fringe operation. It's been targeting people across continents, facilitated by social media and encrypted messaging apps. Victims come from all walks of life: technologically savvy professionals, retirees, college students, and yes, even financial experts. In a world saturated with digital illusions, no one's guard is perfect at all times. There's a broader lesson here: the human brain is not designed to be constantly on high alert for fraud. We rely on trust, patterns, and heuristics. Scammers know how to manipulate those innate tendencies. They often strike when you're busy, stressed, or lured by the promise of an easy windfall. While most people don't have millions at their disposal, the principle remains the same. Given the right conditions and the right bait, nearly anyone can be led astray. As time passes, Elkhart will have to navigate the aftermath. New leaders may step in to form a new financial institution, or bring back stability to the local economy. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit the like button. And also don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more of these kinds of videos. Thanks for watching.